Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mission Yozakura Family Season 1, Episode 8. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I forgot to talk about this last episode, but in Episode 6, I had my theories about who Sui and Oga worked for, and obviously we found out about Hina Giku last episode, and we find out the other mysterious person we get in the intro of the show, and that is Rin, who is the boss. So I figured she was the leader, but I was kind of like, is she going to be like a leader of a Yakuza or something like that? It's like, no, but she is the leader of Hina Giku, which obviously, them being like this government spy organization, of course they're going to have like a very like intricate way to get into their operation. Whereas like the Yosakuras, it's like, yeah, they're just in their house. Granted, their house is riddled with booby traps, but I just think it's kind of interesting. It's like, oh, we enter this cafe. Yeah, you order this very specific order, and then like the cafe dude like types it in and opens up a trap door, which I can never see a trap door in anything anime related without thinking about Trails of Cold Steel. That's forever going to be my reference of someone falling. And I love that it's Sui that's holding Matsumi, and Taiyo doesn't like that, but it's like, you should focus more so on surviving because there's a whole bunch of booby traps. I also love that the drink does exist. He actually got some for him and Matsumi. I guess Taiyo can screw himself, but he's dodging lasers and arrows, and the final thing is like a giant, almost, I mean, it's like a steel ball, but it's not steel ball. Steel ball probably is the right word. Kind of very Indiana Jones-esque. I know that's like a rock boulder, but still. And Rin smashes it with her bare fist. So it seems like her whole shtick is, like just emit superhuman strength. It's interesting to find out that she's another classmate of Kishiro's. I wonder, once again, with Seiji, we got the whole thing of, right, they were classmates in junior high. Once again, we don't know like how, wait, is that just all they knew each other? They didn't go to the same high school or whatever. We just got classmates, so we don't know if the same things apply to Rin, which makes you wonder, was Rin also a classmate of Seiji? Like, do they have a shared history in that regard? Are these the only two like people that Kishiro has? I mean, we've never really kind of gotten to see, like, this is us getting Kishiro's outside perspective, but we've never gotten, I mean, the closest we got to Taiyo having friends are like the three he interacts with at school, but like none of the other Yosakuras, we've never really seen them have any friends. Matsumi's friends with people at school, but like it's kind of like the same relationship that Taiyo has with people at school. So I'm assuming that's going to change as the show progresses, but it's just kind of an interesting thing that out of any character, Kishiro is the one that we see his kind of network of friends, but they all have complicated relationships when it comes to Kishiro. Like Seiji's kind of like meh towards Kishiro, and as Matsumi puts it, Kishiro and Rin are kind of like oil and water. So, but they might butt heads, but they both love and obsess over Matsumi. It's just kind of like, that's why Rin dislikes Kishiro so much. It's just because it's like, oh, he wants to hold you all to himself, but Kishiro doesn't like anyone having Matsumi. I mean, he that's why his beef is with Taiyo, but it's like, yeah, like they're both obsessed with her in their own way. That's why they're like basically two sides of the same coin, despite hating each other. So he ends up tracking them to Giku, because it wasn't just a tea party they were invited there for, but it turns into a whole fight between them. Even Sui, like even his fast movements, couldn't get close enough to him because both Rin and Kishiro like bashed him away. I mean, so kind of also showcases how tough Kishiro is, that he is at the top of the food chain. He isn't like top spy dude for no reason. But Matsumi tries to get in the middle of it, and it took Taiyo stepping in to protect her, because neither one of them could slow down their attack because it was already in the middle of things. And I love how Matsumi resolved that situation, just simply being like, hey, you two, I will never talk to you again if you cause more trouble, because like literally everyone had to evacuate the building. I guess that's the protocol, because it literally happens all the time apparently when these two are around each other. So, but either way, Taiyo gets brought in on a mission, because initially Rin, much like a lot of people, does not think much of Taiyo. Obviously that opinion has slightly changed, just like Sui's. Sui's opinion's gotten slightly, very minusculely better. He has a very minusculely more positive perspective on Taiyo. But yeah, like he's supposed to be going after this politician Kuroyuri, who seems like a weirdo, but the fact of the matter is he's actually kind of a bad politician guy because he's using assassinations, like death, extortion. He's done a lot to kind of push for his what he wants to kind of enact and stuff like that. So, but there's nothing that can be used against him. Like, apparently there's also these bombs that are being bought, and they're small, have a smaller radius. But I mean, they have a big enough radius, but it's not like a massive radius. But they have like quite the impact. They can vaporize everything. So they need to figure out what Kuroyuri is and be able to find any evidence to properly take him down. So Taiyo has to go undercover, which does tie into what I said last episode. I was like, kind of got the feeling like at the end, what we got in the preview, I was like, oh, is Taiyo going to like gender bend? And he does, but not in the way I thought. I thought it was going to be like an experiment goes wrong and he legitimately gender bends and not just like, oh, he's disguised as a woman. I even love Sui being like, oh yeah, you look great. And he's like, whoa, you're not even looking at me while you say that. But it's like, yeah, because Kuroyuri is looking for black hair, what was it, long eyelashes or whatever. It's like, oh, that's very specifically the way Taiyo looks now. So that's why he's in disguise. Because he has to not only do with Kuroyuri, but also his 3 main bodyguards, red, blue, and yellow. But they're kind of contractors. They were contracted by Kuroyuri. I thought they were specifically Kuroyuri's people, but it's like, no, they're just people hired to work for him. So, because Kuroyuri and the trio are the only ones we see in the intro, like amongst all the bad guys that they cross paths with, like all the bad guys that surround them in the intro, those are the only 4 we've gotten to actually see. Like, everyone else is silhouetted, but I'm sure, like, as the series progresses, you'll kind of be able to look back and be like, oh, that silhouette of so-and-so was this person. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the others are just stand-ins in some regards, but I don't know. I don't know if that's really going to... I would assume, because some of those figures look very specific, especially some that you get to spend time with, like the ones that kind of jump in the air before Taiyo points the gun at. I'm like, they're too specific that I'm like, there probably are characters that slot into those silhouettes very specifically, but we'll see. But getting dirt on Kuroyuri is not easy because he's able to commit all these crimes. He basically framed another guy for like robbery or extortion or something like that. Like, he has like, oh, this guy's like, I have no idea where this money came from. During a debate or whatever, one politician had to leave the stage because his stomach started cramping him, so they poisoned him. But it's like, how are they doing all this for Taiyo? It's like, I'm around them all the time, and it turns out it's not till he focuses on their dancing, and it's like, oh, different types of Morse code. I'm curious what that was that Kyoshiro used before him and Rin went at it, because he says something, but like Mitsumi covers her face, because I guess that was another like coded messaging. I love that we're just getting more and more versions of that. Like, we got the whole tap, tap, tap Morse code from the classroom a couple episodes back. Whatever Kishiro was saying that literally everyone could understand. And then now Kuroyuri and the triplets doing their dances. It's how they're communicating with each other. And so this gives Taiyo a leg up information-wise. So it's like, okay, cool. I prepared like the bomb. I figured it had to be a trap of like, yeah, Kuroyuri probably definitely knows more. Like, the whole reason to send Taiyo in was because Hinegiku is like too publicly known that he's already on guard for them. So an X factor, an outsider like Taiyo. Granted, Taiyo does have like a bit of a reputation, but I guess I guess that's only in the spy world. Not enough people out. I mean, but they are connected to the spy world, the triplets. So you think maybe they'd know, but it could just be Kuroyuri just has like proper connections to know that, or he keeps his ear to the ground type of thing. Whatever the case may be, he knew who Taiyo was. It just begs the question, has he known since the beginning or what? But I had a feeling like Taiyo was probably going to get some false information and then it was going to blow up in his face. But the moment he got shot, I was like, well, it's most likely a thing of like, either it's like he's definitely not dead, so either like grazed his head and he was able to dodge it, but he's faking it, or it kind of like grazed his head but knocked him out type of thing. But then it's like, no, it all went according to plan. Kuroyuri tried to set off the explosive, but everyone's protected because of a Shinzo. What was it, Shinzo or was it Shion? Who came up with like the fluff, the kind of absorbent jacket. But it also wasn't alone because luckily Sui shows up to back him up. And the triplets decide to bail because it's like, yeah, this is kind of too rich for our blood, so let's bail. And they left him to his own devices. I love that Sui cut him down to his boxers. It's like, you kept cutting Taiyo down to his birthday suit, so I don't know why you're giving him some special treatment, but it's like he's the bad guy, and it's like, well, we need him having something, because the last thing we want is his bits hanging out. So he got taken down. Mission seems resolved until we get a little snag at the end of the episode where Kuroyuri says, like, right, there's more to your family's death than you think. Which I figured from the beginning was like, there had to be something, but I'd assume it's something spy related, but I'm curious why they would go after his family, because he's like, right, did you think about it? Like, your mom, dad, and your brother died, but somehow you managed to survive. Like, there were no accidents. Like, this was all done on purpose. So I'm probably almost implying like, oh, you being alive, you being the survivor was done on purpose too. So I'm curious what the motivation is going to be. Is it going to be like an extended family thing of someone trying to wipe them all out? Like, him surviving doesn't seem like that was on purpose. I mean, that seems like that was on purpose. That wasn't an accident. I wonder, is he going to try and put it on the Yozakura as being like, no, they did that specifically for you. They wanted you to be indebted. Like, I don't know if that's the route he's going to go down. Because I initially thought, because he was talking up the Yozakuras and I was like, oh, you're the big rookie amongst them now. I kind of felt like he was talking him up just to reveal that he says, like, the Yozakuras has something to do with it when they don't and didn't. But this goes back to something I brought up early in the season 2, where I was like, I wonder, like, is it like a Kiishiro thing and maybe Mitsumi know? Or maybe none of them know, or maybe some of them know, and like maybe it's like every other sibling knows except for Mitsumi that there was something more to Taiyo's family's death, or maybe all of the Yosakuras know and they just never told Taiyo because they felt like he wasn't ready for it yet. You know, the truth behind it. So it's going to be interesting to see whether there is something to that or not, or whether Kuroyuri is like, I mean, he does seem like the guy that's always prepared to have a trump card in his back pocket. So there's a very likely possibility this is real and not complete and utter BS, but he's using it to try and like get Taiyo distracted so he can escape or at least manipulate him into something. So we'll see how this all shakes up and how this ultimately all ends up playing out, what the revelation to this ends up being, like I said, whether it's truth or whether it's BS. I think there's truth to it, but obviously it's going to be skewered coming from Kuroyuri because you can't trust anything he says, but we'll see what Taiyo discovers next episode. And once again, find out who knew what when. So, but really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.